Hi, this is Vaughan Schofield. Welcome to Wrexham Property TV, the July edition. And coming up on this month's episode, let's start off with some basics. LDP, Local Development Plan, what is it?
It's called a local development plan, but I suppose that's part of the controversy really, is the fact that I don't believe it's based on local need. It's about giving a green light to speculative development, and it's been very controversial. There's a lot of concern about the impact that this level of development's going to have, and lots of issues as well around the fact that this isn't affordable housing. This is premium executive housing, 3 and 4 bed houses that most people locally can't afford.
What I've read is that there has been an established need being presented, at least by the Welsh Government, of 7,750 houses or dwellings that need to be built and in place by 2028 due to local need.
I think at this stage it's fair to say that nobody accepts that the figures in the LDP are based on local need. So the way these housing projections filter down to the local planning system are from population projections, and those come through a formula by Welsh Government. Those projections have been proven over the last decade to be completely inaccurate. The reality on the ground, according to the census figures, is that Wrexham's population is slightly in decline. So there's no doubt, even via the planning inspectorate, that those figures are wrong. The evidence base is wrong. Welsh Government actually have a duty to step in, because they've been responsible as well for getting things to this stage and looking at a better solution going forward, which I would argue is a new plan based on local need that takes into account issues like affordability, having new houses, but of the right type, in the right place. We've got 4,500 people on the council waiting list at the moment. There's a desperate need for affordable housing, but none of those things are being addressed with this plan.
Have you got any prediction where this is going to go?
I honestly don't know. Honestly, and I think probably a lot of people will say the same thing because it's never happened before. You've never had a situation where a council's rejected its own plan. The democratic process locally has happened, has concluded, and could be overridden. That's a problem. That's a real issue. If people locally, if their local representatives can't represent them effectively, what does that say about democracy? So that's an issue, and I think there's an issue of accountability that Welsh Government are going to have to face. They can't just throw this back to the council. The numbers, the plan essentially has come from them. They need to start being accountable for the implications as well. Not just in Wrexham, right across Wales.
Population of Wrexham has slightly decreased, if anything, over the last few years. So I don't know why 8,000 houses are needed. Of those, 15% only are for affordable homes, and I think that's not what we need. Personally, I think that we do need more homes in Wrexham, but there needs to be the right type of houses, not just large estates full of 4 and 5 bedroom detached executive homes.
Where's the infrastructure? Where's the extra hospitals, the surgeries, the schools? A lot of them need upgrading. We just haven't got the money, and it's pointless building houses. Where's everybody going to go? If we haven't got the road infrastructure, they're all going to be stuck in the houses.
If Welsh Government had delivered what they promised for the road junction on the 483, for the improvements and the infrastructure, we would have wholeheartedly supported the plan. But because Welsh Government took away the infrastructure and the money, we couldn't deliver that infrastructure to our communities. We had to say no. We had to make a stance. It's Welsh Government that need to be accountable, not Wrexham County Borough Council.
I did try and reach out to some individuals who also have a contrary view because I did want to give it some balance. I have been unable so far to get anybody willing to be interviewed. So that's something I would like to offer any local elected member who would like to speak in favour of accepting the local development plan to get in touch with me, and I can certainly organise for them to be interviewed in next month's Wrexham Property TV. I'm of an age where I remember double-digit base rates, 10, 12, even 14%. But it's always a case of what you're used to. And we all got used to historic low base rates, 0.1% in March 2020, after the latest increase to 5%. It's a sea change. And frankly, there is lots of professional opinion out there that it hasn't stopped yet. And the kind of estimates that I'm reading about is anywhere between 6 and 6.5%. Now, if you listen to Andrew Bailey, Governor of Bank of England, he doesn't believe it will exceed 6.25. But how much of an issue is it? Well, 74% of all residential mortgages are on fixed rate. That's the UK number. And 96% of new borrowers will also ask for a fixed rate deal. It's a huge element of the population that have got these kind of mortgage deals in place. 1.4 million, yes, 1.4 million of mortgagees have their fixed rate term coming to an end this year. And mortgage payments in the UK currently are up by 61% as an average. And that's according to the Office of National Statistics. So what does this look like in practical terms? Well, if you compare a mortgage of £150,000 compared to where it was when it was at 2% base rate, increasing to 6% adds another £316 to your monthly repayment. If it went up to 6.5%, it adds another £359. It's not a sum of money that you can easily find somewhere and just carry on as we were. There's some serious consideration to be made there in how people can afford that. So the question always is it the right time to buy? I think the answer is there will always be reasons why people have to buy. My advice to people, and it has remained consistent over the last few years, is buy somewhere that you fall in love with. But equally, my advice would be to stress test your ability to pay an increased rate. I'd be looking not only at what my new mortgage rate was going to be currently, I would like to know, worst case scenario, at 6.5%, what the same mortgage would cost me. In order for me to have a worst case scenario number in my head that I know I would then have to find, my advice would be to speak to a mortgage broker, and we have one in-house. Her name is Caris Bailey, and she would be able, with no obligation, be able to give you finite numbers of where mortgage payments could be, depending on the interest rates that you want her to project on. It's far better for you to get in touch with your own mortgage provider early and have that conversation so that you're in the best possible position to cope if need be. Well, I hope you found that part interesting with regards to mortgage rates. But what's happening on lettings? Well, without any further ado, let me transfer you over to my colleague Olivia, who will give you a national picture, a Welsh picture, and of course, the picture in Wrexham itself.
Demand for rental properties has reached a new all-time high, research conducted on behalf of Paragon Bank has found. A survey of nearly 700 landlords showed that 67% experienced increased tenant demand during the first quarter of this year, up from 65% recorded during the final quarter of 2022, the previous record high. Significant increases were reported by 44% of responders, compared with 39% in the final quarter of last year, which is also the highest proportion seen since the research agency BVA-BDRC began tracking the metric in 2011. The highest levels were experienced by landlords in the east of England, with 9 in 10 recording an increase, while the lowest were seen in the West Midlands, at just over 7 out of 10. Rents continue to rise as a result, according to 85% of respondents, with over half planning to increase rates across their own portfolio in the next 6 months. The cost of running a property was the most common reason given for increasing rents, along with aligning with local market rates and higher mortgage finance costs. Agents trade body Property Mark says the number of new prospective tenants registering per member branch rose slightly to 118 in April, up from the December low of 64 and 24% higher than April 2022. Rental prices continue to rise in May, with the average cost of a new tenancy in the UK at £1,213 per calendar month, up 1.2% from April and 10% annually, says HomeLet, a leading go-to expert for the lettings industry. Excluding London, the average UK rent price was 9.5% higher than 12 months ago at £1,016 per calendar month. In the capital, rents were 11.3% higher than the same time last year and 1.8% up on the previous month at £2,039. Rental averages in both the West Midlands and Yorkshire and Humber saw a 1.4% increase, with costs rising to £898 per calendar month and £824 respectively, while the North East was 2% lower, down to £632.
I want to today go into the offices of Let Alliance, which is a company that has a product that may be of interest to you, in order to give you that reassurance and confidence that the rental income you expect over the tenancy term is exactly the rental income you receive.
Through the partnership that Let Alliance has with Belvoir, it allows Belvoir to offer their landlords the Belvoir guarantee. And the Belvoir guarantee essentially protects the landlord from the risk of rent arrears. So in the event that the tenant defaults on the rent, can't or won't pay their rent, is part paying their rent, whatever the case may be, Belvoir will pay the landlord that rent for a period of up to 15 months or until vacant possession is obtained of the property, whichever's the sooner. There's no excesses, there's no claims to make or anything like that, because that's all looked after by Belvoir. The other thing that's covered within that package is that in the event that, even if there wasn't rent arrears, if there was an event that led to a ground for possession and a notice seeking possession could be served, then the policy would also cover the legal costs incurred in regaining possession of that property as a result of a tenancy breach. And I think something else that's quite important to note, which a lot of landlords probably aren't aware of, but in the event that there is a claim on the Belvoir guarantee and that tenant hasn't paid and that tenant is evicted, there's a marker then against them, because from a Barban perspective, so Let Alliance, HomeLet and Rent for Sure, if that tenant ever goes to try and move into another rental property again with another agent within our network, we will catch them. We will then try and trace that tenant in 6, 12, 18 months time, so much further down the line. We'll try and trace them and see whether we can actually recover that debt off that individual. And I think it's quite nice to know from a principal perspective that if it's gone through Let Alliance, it's not going away. We will keep trying and trying and trying to recover that money. We'd expect landlords to be being charged probably in the region of about 3% of the rent, dependent on what the rent is. It might be a fixed monthly fee.
Thank you very much for watching this month's edition. Please post your comments, any feedback, always read. And I look forward to seeing you next month.